This is the Prairie Field Service Safety Meeting for the week of March 18th, 2019. We're talking this week about driver safety and our vehicle policy in our personnel handbook. If you guys haven't read it, you should refresh it. It's one of those things you should read, and we'll talk about all this kind of stuff in here. And this policy was written to identify Prairie Company's driving standards and guidelines. You know, these guidelines apply to all of us that drive any kind of Prairie vehicle, whether it be a big truck, pickup, skid steer, you name it. And rental vehicles, if you're on company business, or authorized to take other companies' vehicles. When you get hired, we identify those people who are going to drive. That's why you have to give them valid driver's license, all that. And if you update medical cards, get a new license, make sure Sarah gets copies of those, because she's got to update those in your driver's file stuff. Even if you're a light-duty driver, if all you do is drive a pickup, we got to have a valid license on file for you to drive one. Some of the training and education we have with this. We go through Smith driving. As I said, even if it's company-owned rental or personal vehicle, if you're using it for company business, we have to have the Smith driving. We have to make sure your driver's license is valid. And if you're running forklifts, skid steers, that kind of thing, you have to have additional training on those, because there are some OSHA requirements on those. Find my cursor, wherever it went to. Here we go. Safety precautions. You do have to have a proper valid driver's license for the type of vehicle you're operating. And if you get into a situation where your license gets suspended or revoked for any reason, you need to let us know. You also need to let us know if you get pulled over, ticketed for anything, even in your personal vehicle. Because when you do your annual review, it'll show. And we need to know about it before we see it on there going, why didn't we know? If you get tickets, warnings, whatever, good write-ups in a commercial motor vehicle, we have to have copies of those things for our files. And if you're taking medication or something that could affect the way you drive, cause you drowsiness, anything like that, we have to know about that kind of thing. If you're way too tired or fatigued, stop. We don't want to wreck the trucks. Remember, no smoking allowed in any Prairie Services vehicle. I think Alan made that clear when he's had them cleaned and passes on the cleaning bill to the people who were smoking in them. And that includes vaping and all that. Of course, no smoking when you're refueling, loading, any of that kind of stuff. Some of your other responsibilities. Do good pre-trips on your stuff. Make sure it gets put on your DVIR. Your lights, everything's got to be working. We saw one of our trucks, leaser, with no front bumper, no headlights going down the road. If he were to get stopped, that's an out-of-service violation. You've got to check all the lights, make sure they work. We want you driving with your headlights on for more visibility. I know it's muddy and crappy out there. Make sure your reflective tape's clean, that kind of thing. Tail lights especially. If you have to stop coming off a lease road and wipe them off, do. If you're in and out of the vehicle, especially at the rails, yards, or locations, lacks, wear all your proper PPE. You guys know you're supposed to wear that. That's not an option. You have to have that stuff on. We're supposed to have intrinsically safe flashlights if we're up on top of the tanks or working around that thing. Make sure you have the Division 1 flashlights. If you're on Douglas Rail, you best have that safety vest with you also, because they will scream bloody murder if you're out of the truck without a safety vest at the rail yard. If you break down on the highway, we want high visibility, so wear that safety vest while you're out on the roadway. We talk about using chains here. As I said, if you don't know how to chain, ask. You'll be taught. Make sure that your chains are the proper size. If you don't know what you're doing with them, ask for help. Senior drivers will help. Supervisors will help. We talked with Jason and Brent, and we'll probably be doing chaining classes. Newer drivers, you're going to be required to chain up. And some questions out there. I know Josh is saying the wash bay needs to be open more often. And I agree with that. We're working with John. Some other questions on chains. Hold off to the end on those, Devin and Jason, because I have some more stuff to talk about that. Use 3 points of contact when you're going in and out of the truck. Don't go out face first. We've had several injuries, people coming out face first and falling, slipping, feet. Your center of gravity is way forward. You're going to fall. Also, no climbing on top of the tankers. You don't have fall protection. We've had a couple instances of that already. And if it has a lockout tagout sign, you don't move that vehicle. You cannot take that lockout tagout off unless you're the one that applied it. So don't be doing that. No unauthorized passengers in our vehicles, to include light duties. We prohibit the action of course, of using wireless communications while you're driving. Just like the law states, don't use your cell phone when you're driving, okay? If you have to pull over to talk, make sure it's a safe place to do so. Exceptions to that is emergency situations, reporting a crash or something like that. Crime, if you think somebody's life is in serious danger. And if you're involved in an incident while driving, if there's injuries or that we have to get law enforcement called right away, call 911. But also, notify dispatch. Also, calling me in the middle of the night saying, oh, I had an incident. That's not proper reporting. Or just calling Brent in the middle of the night.
If you're ever in an accident, hit a antelope, cow, we need to get law enforcement involved right away. They've already kind of came back and cited some of our drivers for not reporting it right away. So, even if it's another party and you got no damage, call it in. Definitely make sure that supervisor and dispatch is aware as well.
Yeah, as I said here, if anybody is involved and there's injuries, call 911. Get help coming for those people. You're in a placarded vehicle. It's kind of tough to stop on the road. But if this stuff's in front of you, there's really no way for you to go around it. And you still are required to stop, render aid if possible. And as other people come up, they can get you past this stuff unless the road's blocked. Then there's not much we can do about it. Also, if you encounter, say, we had it in Texas, we talked about it a few months ago, where the one truck clipped ours and didn't want to give any information, make sure you get information of the other driver and company and all of that kind of stuff. We don't want to be fighting that battle down the road, and it gets tough. Talking about hazard recognition. We're still seeing good stuff put on JSA as new hazards out there. There's a lot more of our older pads that they're bringing rigs into. Let us know about those things so we can get them in the turn-by-turn directions. Look at what you're doing. Think about these new hazards, how it can affect you, how it can affect your ability to do your job. Sarah wanted to talk about community involvement and employee fund committee. She's looking for volunteers to sit on this committee, choosing where money that we want to spend for community outreach stuff goes to. And we want to also create an employee fund for helping other fellow employees when they have problems or this or that we can tap on. And she would like someone that would be willing to do this with her and the committee for about a 6-month term. Get with her if you're interested. It's a good chance to get involved with it. We talk about some of these things in our management meeting, but we want you all involved too. It's just not for the managers to decide this kind of stuff. It's just not for Pat. Crude oil. You guys are doing really good those 2 days, 13th and 14th. Not much we can do about that because of weather. But you picked it up really quick. We were at
54,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
Or the last 3 days since we came back from the storm, we've been averaging 54,000 a day. So, good job, guys.
Yeah, if we can keep it around 54 every day, that's wonderful. We'll get things cleaned up really quick because there are other things coming down the road there. You know, Texas Crude, they've had some really good days. They're remaining steady. You can tell where some of their flowbacks are getting ready to start. Water was affected the same way with the weather. They had a couple bad days, but they rebounded real hard, which has been a real good thing. Okay, some of the other stuff. The corporate office in Wayzata has a March Madness bracket that if you're interested, see Sarah, Alan, Gilby, any of us, we can give you the link to it. It's free. You pick your basketball
I'll just say
stuff.
It doesn't matter if you don't know squat about basketball. There's good prizes and it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Fill out a bracket. It's not even about, I think they do first, second, third place, but there's all kinds of randoms and they're like 33rd place wins $500. You know what I'm saying? Just, you're crazy not to.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff in there.
You should have got the email to your personal email. I know I did. So whatever personal email you had on file, you should have gotten that email. So look in your junk mail. And it's from Floyd, so.
Yeah, there's some really neat prizes in there.
Last place is like $200. You know, last place.
Yeah.
It's not every place wins something, but there's something for like 9th, 33rd, 50th, and then first, second, third. First prize I think is a 65-inch.
Yeah, Samsung 65-inch TV, all kinds of stuff.
Everyone would tell me they'd rather win third place or second place, whatever. One was $500 Amazon gift card. So there's some good stuff, and I don't know. To me, it always makes watching the tournament more fun, even if you don't know anything about basketball.
Yeah,
Go by the numbers that they
the folks online are commenting too. There's a random pick option. If you don't know anything about basketball, hit the random pick option. It'll pick it for you. Just see what happens. But there are some really good prizes in there. Tomorrow morning, because the games start Thursday morning, because they start Thursday. Thursday morning is when you have to
I think the first game for 11 a.m.
have those in.
I love the random pick. I hit the random pick, and I will tell you that I had North Dakota State win the whole thing. So
They're not even going to make the tournament. They're the first 4 out.
yeah.
Okay,
They play tonight, I think.
some of the other stuff. Shell mandatory safety meeting next Wednesday. It'll be the only safety meeting for the week. We'll have dinner at 3:30, and we'll start the meeting at 4.
Will dispatch accommodate?
They're going to try to accommodate best they can. I know not everybody will be able to make it, but this is the annual that we'll have all the Shell people here that happens every year. There's a lot of problems on nights lately with the use of navigation. Guys are following GPS. Don't trust that.
On that, David, I want everybody to know and understand that navigation app does not and has never been in the oil field. So it's going to tell you to go places, and that's where we're getting guys getting caught up, new people especially. It's telling you to go there. No, you don't want to go there. So turn by turns. I know guys like, oh, those turn by turns are wrong.
Turn by turns with the navigation together as a tool works. 'Cause you can see ahead of you. If you're at 0.5 miles, you can zoom in and be like, okay, there is a dirt road up there, and I do see my well off to the right. You got to coincide with those two things.
Yeah, we've had a couple of them here recently that are lost out there. They've been down private roads, private property, just by following the GPS navigation. As Kyle just said, use them together. Well Site Navigator is not the option either. Use the turn by turns. Use them together, because they might have changed roads. They might have changed routes. You got to read these things. They will get you where you need to be.
And if you get lost, don't wait until you get so lost you don't know where you're at.
Yeah, if you get lost, stop. Call people while you have signal.
And don't bounce around. Don't call us, say you're lost, and then move.
Yeah, just sit where you are if you're lost. We can help you, especially if you have cell phone signal. We can see you on Samsara. We can try to talk you through things. Because none of these navigation programs understand no oil field traffic beyond this sign, private road. If it's a new enough pipeline thoroughfare, it'll think it's a road and try to get you to turn on it. Chain ups. A lot of good comments online here on chain ups. Number one, if it's too soft, don't go. Just don't get yourself buried. But let's have chains on before you need them. Because if any of you have ever been stuck and then trying to spin chains on, that's a miserable experience, and it usually doesn't work very well.
We talked to 2 producers today. We had calls. We were in there, Kyle, and they were pretty consistent about they get pretty pretty frustrated with some trucks that didn't chain up, but they say they're more than willing to help out the trucks that have chains on. So do what you can.
Yeah, for those that couldn't hear online, if you get stuck on a location, especially Wold, and you are chained, they won't have problems helping you. If you're not chained, and you should have been, they're not going to get you out. If you tear up stuff, we're probably going to get back billed for the repair of their location, their lease roads, all of that. That's always been the standard of Ballard. If it's muddy and wet, you better be chained. Make sure you have the right size chain for your trucks. If you don't know how to repair chain, get a hold of people in the shop, get a hold of us. If you're using chain and don't know how to put it on, ask for help. If you don't know how to hang them, ask for help. When a driver gets in his truck and his chains are so wadded up and knotted up and kinked up that he takes an hour and a half to 2 hours at the start of his shift to break links because they're so twisted and smooth them out and then rebuild them so he can get them on his truck to run, that's unacceptable. And don't let them drag the ground. They still have to be at least 15 inches off the ground. We get a lot of damage from them dragging. If you're not sure how to chain them, ask. We should have some of the chains for the new wider steer tires. Well, check with the shop. Like Tim Karuby saying, anybody that needs help, he'll help you to learn how to chain. You know, Jason and Brent, we'll all help. There's no reason for anybody not to know how to chain. The tighter, the better on there. When they're flopping and loose, look at a lot of the fenders. You can tell the damage you get from those.
Do we have a big fat steer chain to it?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yep. Okay. There are the new wider tire steers in the shop.
Yeah, all you gotta do is ask the shop.
Okay, cool.
Last thing, thief hatches. When we were out checking roads, seeing if guys could get in, Kyle does what Kyle does. And he runs across all this kind of stuff, guys. That's not the way we do business, leaving them like that. It only takes just a couple minutes to wipe this stuff down. Leaving stuff in the Getty. Those thief hatches, top of the tanks, they're all looking pretty nasty. And Kyle, you can attest this was probably, what, about a half hour's work?
Yep.
To make them look like that. And he sent me a bunch of pictures. For the sake of time, I only put a few in there. But it took him that short a time to get them looking the way they should be. That's how we always want to leave stuff. And Josh, on last time I repaired chains, I wasn't paid for my time to do it. So talk with Kyle on those. Talk with Alan. That should be a conversation with them face to face. Alan, you got things for us.
If anybody has questions, I guess I'm just going to keep pushing the customer service we talked about it last week, and I think everybody was here with it last week. Just my conference calls more and more. Just do everything you can to appease these guys if they have questions, and then let me know. Let me know if we do something to kind of go above and beyond. I know a lot of people feel like they're self-promoting themselves. It's really not about that. I appreciate it, and it's great, but what it really comes down to is we keep a log for every producer, and I like to keep track of that kind of stuff for when we meet with them, and they bring up every little thing that we've done wrong, like to show a lot of the things that we do right and how we go above and beyond a lot of these things. It's kind of interesting when I have these conversations, you know, that a lot of them bring up the negative, and a lot of them are real positive. There's a lot of...
Screw over this way a little bit so they can hear you better. It's hard to pick up.
Anyway, just, if there's any questions on that or you guys are seeing that, just take the time. I don't even care if it's just a text to me or Kyle or to dispatch or whoever it is. You know, we do keep a spreadsheet with all that information, and it really is good. I know you might think it seems trivial, but it's not. That stuff really is important, and as we talk, just like if you deal with a pumper who does something to help you out, you know, relay that. That gives me a reason to maybe write a letter on that particular pumper to his boss or something like that. Those kind of things build relationships. It sounds kind of corny, but I'm telling you, what keeps us here and makes us better than the others, it's I'm going to use the word partnership, right? It's a partnership. We recently on the water side had a communication breakdown. So we had one of our people find a leak that was not our fault, and they sent an email. And the person they sent the email to, which was the supervisor within Prairie, and he was off, had some personal issues, didn't work that day, and the email basically went nowhere. That information went nowhere. And when Devin got out there, there's a 300 barrel spill. That was water, and it was in the containment, but still a cleanup that we had to do. And it was huge, and they were upset. And I get why they were upset. Even though the leak was their fault, we, in a partnership, like we should have done a better job to make sure, hey, did this get taken care of? Because this was going to get bad if nobody addressed it. And the first attempt was there, but that's one of those things that, and it was 100% management. This was not a driver. Driver did the right thing. Management failed in this particular one in the communication, and it's frustrating. So quite honestly, that one was on us, and the driver did exactly what we asked. You see these things, go above and beyond, take the time, report it. There's other situations where we've actually found some of these things and helped prevent them, and they're grateful when those things happen because they could have been big spills. But you guys are the eyes and ears out there. I don't need to beat it up. What I'm just asking is customer service, go above and beyond and communicate it. I know that some of you guys feel like, well, that's my job, I don't need this, but it does help me to know that stuff. It really does. I know, don't look at it like you're looking for some attaboy or something. I know that's not the case. I'm begging you to tell me. So it's not about self-promotion as much as communication and us knowing what's going on and the efforts we're making, because that is really good information for us. And if it's an opportunity for me to kind of boost our company with these producers, I mean, we're every day trying to build up our volume and secure our jobs for the future. I mean, I'm going to Oklahoma City next week and meeting with 3 producers, then down to Houston for a conference, and all this stuff is, we want to stay ahead of the curve. There's people coming in, there's people trying to get more business. There was recently a company that just contacted Sinclair and wanted to have a meeting and try to get some business, and Sinclair just told them, no, we have one hauler that we use, and so it's nice to have that, but we're seeing more and more of it, and more people are trying to get volume. So what's really going to keep us at the top of the game is our customer service, which is you guys. And then us following up with the concerns and the things you see. So if you do something great, you see something that's a problem, communicate it, and we'll make sure we follow up on it. So it's just common sense, really. I'm not saying anything you don't know, but sometimes everybody just does their job and gets focused, and we don't recognize the little things we can do that go a long way. And so I just want you thinking of the producers as partners and what can we do to help them and things like that. It does go a long way. And if any of you guys do see a guy out there that does something to help, let me know. I mean, we can recognize people too, and it goes a long way with them when we notice those things. I love getting compliments on our drivers from third parties, like producers or customers, people out there, goes a long way. Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
I do. I usually just keep my mouth shut for a while and keep my mouth shut. But I just wanted to bring it to a lot of the drivers' attention. Last week's meeting was one of the most disrespectful freaking meetings I've ever been in my 10 years in the field. Alan was up there pouring his freaking heart out. Now, obviously, this is a very much more respectful group here. But Alan's up there pouring his heart out on how he hates having to fire people. And I don't know how many groups were cross-talking and having full conversations on in the back of the room. And I can't even hear what Alan's saying.
Well, don't
You know?
worry, Eric, because all those people have been terminated.
Well,
That's why the group is much smaller. I'm kidding. Well, I appreciate it. I do appreciate it, but it is, yeah, we just need to be better.
and then there's the excuses coming out of some of these drivers are freaking hideous. I think we forget. I've actually been in a position. Prairie's giving me the opportunity of a lifetime right now. Once again in my life, and I'm hitting it full force. But I've actually been with companies where I had to give back a $100,000 truck because people couldn't gauge your oil. They couldn't test for water. Lost tens of thousands of dollars because other people couldn't do their jobs. And then in safety meetings, I hear people chattering in the back. Oh, but the pumper wanted me to check a couple tanks to see if it had water, and they're acting like it's such a big problem. Like literally, it takes about 3 minutes to find out if there's water on the bottom of a tank, and we need to remember that Chesapeake's not one to mess with. They can have somebody else haul their oil. And along with these other ones, if a pumper asks you to take a few minutes of time to find out if there's water on the bottom of the tank, just do it. We work for them, and they can have someone else haul our oil very easily. And there's some of us, leasers or opportunities that Prairie's doing for us, we've got a lot on the line. 3-year contracts, $100,000, and all they're asking for us to do is just show up and haul the water correctly. So when Alan's up there pouring out his heart out and asking us to do these simple little steps, I think we should pay a little closer attention to him, and not be so quick to get on the defensive and make excuses why we can't do our
I
job.
appreciate that, Eric, and I think most people are pretty respectful and care. There is, like I said last week, there's a small percentage, and it's frustrating because the one thing that gets me is, and we've talked about it a bunch of times, is when mistakes are going to happen, right? You just don't haul 80,000 barrels of product, which is what we do every day between Texas and water and here. That's what we haul every day. And to think about the incidents, it's easy to say we, blow it off as we do really good. We don't have that much. Some things will happen, okay? But I would like nothing to happen. But when we get down to the root causes, the part that bothers me is it's always driver complacency. I want to say 90% of the time. And the problem I have with that, and I think part of the problem is everybody doesn't know until a week later at a safety meeting, right? And it's kind of tough, you're getting the facts and you're just hearing it for the first time. And I don't want drivers yelling at other drivers and fighting, but I do want you guys to kind of take it personal in that we can't let that happen again. Okay, we got to do better. We need to correct it. We need to learn from it because, the errors are what cost us, and we don't need to drag the meeting up. But there's not a good answer. And again, we're always saying we're preaching to everybody, which is one of the things we are addressing the safety meetings. The online thing is great, and I want it as a backup option. But we need to have everybody here. Everybody needs to hear these messages, not just those that are dedicated to show up at a safety meeting. Safety meetings need to be attended, and people need to hear the message, share information, share what they have. And we probably need to do a better job just keeping our safety meetings boom, boom, boom on task and done so you guys can get in and get out. I don't like to shut anybody down. There's information that can be shared, and we can all learn from it. So with that, I just think that we can do a million things good, and if somebody gets on location and completely disrespects a pumper, it's like it takes us 2 years to overcome that. I go to these quarterly meetings with our producers, and I will tell you, we actually almost, just are blown away by it, but every quarter, the negative things are the same, right? And it's always the same things, and we have to say, wait, that happened 2 quarters ago. But they bring it up every time, right? And how quickly, a lot of times the good stuff is forgotten. We just had Sheldon Polk, a producer, on the right side, was a spill that was going to they had a problem that had nothing to do with us. They couldn't get it fixed. They needed, basically got there with some tools and it needed a second person to shut this thing down, or it was going to be a major spill. And he was there for a couple hours helping them, and obviously they were very appreciative of that. But it seems like sometimes that stuff's quickly forgotten, and the simple things of, well, somebody cut a seal, somebody left the PFS open, I think those things are remembered for a year, it's like, man, how do we get past this stuff? So, I don't know, it's not easy, and as far as reputations go, I honestly think we're at the top of this game. I know I hear things, and people, other companies, everybody's going to condemn companies, but if you really look at the facts, what we do and how we do it, I honestly feel that we're the best, and I think that it is the people. It's the people. Yes, it's training and it's the policies and processes, but we have come so far. I don't know, how much Pat had to say when he was here, but I've talked to Pat a lot since he's left here, and he's just amazed by the quality and how far we've come and how much we've grown. And he's like, it's just not the same as it was. And I know what he's talking about. A lot of you guys have been here long enough to know what he's talking about, right? You come in here and it used to be like, there was no input from the drivers. Everybody was, it was frustrating to be here, and it's not like that anymore. And there's pride. So as much as we still can improve in some areas, I feel like the bulk of us, like 90% of it, is all going the right direction, and we're doing the right thing. And I just ask you to keep it up. But if you do get a chance to communicate that to me, Kyle, dispatch, Gilby, please do it. We keep a log, and that stuff is huge. So I've said that enough. I don't want to keep the meeting going anymore, so you guys keep it going. But I really do appreciate what you're doing. I can tell you right now, it makes life easy in all these meetings that we go to. That storm hit everybody, but we're dealing with the aftermath of that. Excellent. I mean, we're covering Russell. I want to thank you. I saw you out there when there was no trucks up there, and I think you got 2 or 3 boats, and nobody else could move. And I even want to thank the guys that we had at least 6 drivers go out and got nothing. They turned around and came back. But you know what? Thank you for trying. Thanks for giving it a shot. And look, there's no doubt that those 6 drivers left here knowing it's pretty crappy out and it's not going to be an easy day. Turned out to be an impossible day, but at least they gave it a shot. If you don't realize that, that gives me information I can say to these producers, and they're like, well, this is, I don't know, look, man, we tried, we even had trucks go out the head, come back. Every little bit, every effort counts. Go ahead.
Kim, anything for him?
Nope.
Kyle?
No.
For you guys online and you all in here, if your name's on the board here, if you're out of Casper, come look at the names on the board. Those are some of your driver qualification files that are coming due. Your Destination Zero fatigue awareness. If your name's up there, get those taken care of. Here in the training room in the back corner, there's the Destination Zero and fatigue awareness signs. If you're out of Gillette or Cheyenne, Sean McGuire has forms going up there. Darren Weir took some down to Cheyenne. So make sure you get caught up on those. True. But we appreciate you attending today. Thank you much.